You have to be authentic, but you will have to put yourself out there. You will require a lot of vulnerability. You have to put yourself out there, which taps into our deepest fears. And sharing our work by putting a painting online, by sending an email to a producer to get a screenplay read, we are putting ourselves in a very complicated position. We like our certainty, but we don't like changes. But the only way to get it is by embracing it.
Hello, my creative friend. Welcome to the BDI Create Today podcast. This is a podcast where we'll discover the who, what, where, when, why, and how you can be creative or have more creativity. And together, we'll explore the extraordinary impact creativity can have in your life, in your heart, mind, body, and soul. And if we haven't met yet, I am Beth Buffington, a licensed artist, digital illustration instructor, and a creative coach living just outside of the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. But mostly, I am someone who is curious about how creativity can weave its way into our lives. Now, each week, we're going to look at one or more of the sparkly facets that make up the ever-changing kaleidoscope that is creativity. Welcome to another episode of Create Today with Beth Buffington. Today, I have a guest that I cannot wait to have you meet. He is someone who is visiting us from France today, Théo Mahy-Ma-Somga. He is the founder of the Artist Labs. Theo is a film and TV producer and storytelling strategist. He's the founder of the Artist Lab group, and his international background serves as inspiration in his filmmaking, as he often uses his experiences as a descendant of immigrants as his French background to make social commentary on modern day society. You are already a fascinating person just with that short introduction. So welcome to Create Today.
Thank you for having me, Beth. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for making the effort to pronounce my name correctly. I lived in the US for 10 years and it's always been a big thing, like people could not pronounce my name. And so thank you about that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I want to just dive straight in and start talking to you about your creativity and how creativity makes you happier in heart, mind, body, and soul. Let's start with finding out a little bit about your background. Tell us about you and creativity and how all this kind of got started.
Creativity always been at the forefront of my life. I could not really see it maybe when I was a kid, but when I think about it afterwards, I realized that it was always here in a way. When I was a kid, I didn't have any siblings, so I was playing by myself. I was inventing stories, with playing in my room, and creativity was a way to escape because I grew up in a project. I didn't have a dad. My mom was pretty absent. So it was a way for me to be in not a better world, but another world in a way. Like I was creating stories. I always loved it. And it was also a way, I think, to be ruthless in everything I was doing because I was like not seeing any limits because creativity was taking me from one place to another. So I think creativity is what brings me here today. For me, it's my fuel in a way.
Yes, I do think that a lot of your creativity as an adult stems from the things you found fascinating as a child. And when I'm helping people figure out what their creative passion might be, I always ask them, what did you love to do as a child? Let's explore that again. And it looks like that was a big foundation for you. And it was the way you got started and took those storytelling ideas and just brought them into fruition as an adult and having your own company. How did you discover that your passion for creativity could be applied to everyday life as you grew up?
It wasn't that easy because I grew up in the south of France, in Provence, where I am right now, in a town that's called Aix-en-Provence, near Marseille, if you have listeners that know the south of France. It's a town with like 150,000 people, around here, people are mostly lawyers, working in insurance, bankers, stuff like that. But when I was in high school here, like starting from 15 to 18, basically, I studied cinema, but it was only like 4 or 5 hours a week. But with the cinema class, we went to Cannes each year for the film festival. We went to another festival in the south of France where we were like making a movie during a week, and it was like fantastic. I really loved it at the time. And when I graduated at 18, I was like, hey, I want to make movies. I want to work in the film industry. And everyone was like, now be realistic. That is not possible. And so my dreams were cut short. It was just like the end of it. It lasted like 3 years of high school, and no, you have to be realistic. I ended up in law school because everybody was doing the same thing in a way. But I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I can't be in law school. It's just not who I am. But segue, law school taught me like how to think and how to be in this current world, but still it was not who I was. So I was thinking, I was like, okay, right now they don't want me to do anything creatively. Fine. Okay, I don't have a choice. I had, as I mentioned, I didn't have my parents, so I had my grandparents. They were older. They were very nice and supportive, but they were like lost in generation. It was a generation like gap. My grandmother was a teacher, and my grandfather just came from Cameroon, and he was like working in law business, but not high level. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to shut up for a few years. I'm going to try to figure it out on my own, and then go to America to work in the film business, because the Americans, they seems that they know about it. So I was just like, I'm going to go there. And to pay for my study in France, I was working in a bar and restaurant. So I figured a way to get a student visa for 18 months. So I landed in Chicago, Illinois in 2012, and I was like, hey, so I'm working in a restaurant. I'm working in a restaurant right now. I couldn't speak any English because like what we learned in school was just terrible. And I was like, okay, now I'm in the US. Creativity is here in the back of my mind. I'm still working in a restaurant, so I'm not further. But I'm in the US. So I need to figure out a way to go to New York and to work in the movie business. And the restaurant owner, the people I was working with, it was a chain restaurant. They had like restaurants like a little bit of everywhere. And after 6 months, I was like, can I get transferred to New York? I go to New York. They're like, sure, yeah, let's go. A month later, I was in New York. And for me, it was like my only chance. You know how you are as a kid, be like, I need to figure out right now because otherwise the world is ending. This is my only chance I need to figure out. So I like walk in the restaurant, and when I had time, like knock at doors, like little studios, just to be like, can I work with you? Can I do anything? And I found a place to work. And it was the start, it was the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that story. And that is exactly how anyone with a passion needs to go about making sure whatever their passion is happens, is that you just make yourself uncomfortable and vulnerable and start knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened then and how it took you from then to where you are now.
To be completely transparent, I was knocking on doors and I was like, I can work for free because I had that job on the side. So they were like, one company was more willing to take me because I didn't know anything except what I studied in France. They taught me sound. They taught me how to use cameras. They taught me how to gaff, to use lights on a set. And I was writing on the side for myself. And they made me believe that what I was writing about could be shared with the world. And within this little studio, we worked in a bunch of different things. We were doing like short films. We were doing documentaries for the New York Times. We were doing a small episode for Netflix. We were working with HBO. And in the span of 2 to 3 years, I'd work with all those names. I'd like learn about a little bit of everything. And I wanted more, obviously. And I had the short films that I was reading that they helped me shot over there. So that was good because I could use the equipment. And from one film, it was the second one. And the third one, I decided to move to LA because I was like, if I want to really do film, it's where I should be. The process continued in LA. It wasn't smooth because LA is a tough city. And I'm sure like a lot of people that can relate to that.
Yes.
I saw so many souls just get lost over there because you can be stuck in your car all day, not just because of traffic, but because you are going from one meeting to another, grinding and grinding, and it's tough. I continue to make movies and made my first feature film that I produced with four other production company over there. And for me, it was like the biggest Kickstarter in a way to just jump and scale up. And COVID and the industry was different in LA. And I know that it's still different between the fires and the strike. And it's just like that poor city just get smashed every year with something new. I decided to come back to France to have the company here, even though my business partner is still in Los Angeles. And I was like, okay, we should create something about art, but like this idea of Artist Lab was really to have a laboratory of artists to give them a platform to express themselves. Basically, what I was lacking as a child, as a teenager, and also when I started, it was like, I got lucky. People don't say that enough. Like, I got lucky because I knocked at the right door at the right time. I got lucky, but I also could have been back at like level 0. So Artist Lab came with the desire to give artists possibility to express themselves within a safe space and to be able to make art, but not just as a passion, like everyone told me when I was 18, but more as a really lifestyle and a job.
So who's your target audience for Artist Lab? And then after that, I'd really like to learn a little bit more about Artist Lab, how it's set up, where it is, etc. I'm just really fascinated by you're already just giving back to people who are walking in the shoes you were walking in when you were in your early 20s. Yeah. So let's first start with who is Artist Lab? What is it? And I know you have 3 different areas in it. So give us just a rundown on what it is and how it works.
The Artist Lab group is, today we have Artist Lab Studio, film and TV production. We are basically doing, I would say, 70% of our content in Europe and 30% in the US. Today we have 12 projects in our slate. 9 of them are TV shows, 3 of them are feature film. We are trying to do real life stories, but not documentaries. So it will be like a fiction based on real life or a real life event, something that resonates with our audience, something that can speak to us on our daily basis. But today the market is complicated. And I believe everyone in the film industry knows that. TV shows have been easier than film, takes less time. So it's why we have 3 films, but they can take 5 to 6 to 7 years when you will develop a TV show within 12 months, but we still get to do what we love. So the studio is one part. And very early on in the process, like you just mentioned, I had the desire to create what we call today Lab Campus. It's not an actual campus yet, but we have hoped to open a campus next year. But as of today, the campus is an online formation, a workshop, masterclass, call that as you wish. And we base ourselves on the same framework as an incubator for startups. So let's say in Silicon Valley, you have incubator for different startups. We have incubator for different talents. And we welcome talents from different art. So it can be a shoe designer, a screenwriter, a painter. And what we are trying to do here is to remove the barrier and give them what everyone is lacking in a way, because the industry is so tough. It's so hard to get in. So we have a process to select 6 to 8 talents that we are working with for a year. When I was in LA, I was like seeing screenwriters with fantastic screenplays. But either they could not sell it, or either they sold it and then it was sitting on the shelf for years, or they were getting a little bit of money back, which I didn't really understand, because they are the art creator and they should be rewarded for it. So our strategy is to not take a cut We select 6 to 8, as I said. They don't have to pay anything. However, since we believe in you, we come on board with you, and you are the brand now. So we come, you can call that equity. We are part of you because you are the business now. So that's the way we frame ourselves in the campus. Yeah. So that is something that I'm really passionate about because it's for me so important. I'm going to Senegal in Africa actually on the 11th of April next week. And I have hoped to open the first campus over there because there's a desire from people on site in Dakar to really a school for movie maker. And that'll be a first step for us. That'll be fantastic if we can generate talents from Africa because I believe they deserve it. Totally, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I love this idea. I've worked with some Chicago incubators, and it's exactly like you just outlined. You're coming in with your knowledge and your expertise, seeing raw talent, knowing that you know how to help that person catapult where they'd like to go faster because you've already walked in that path. You know where the mistakes are and how to get around them so they can get started quicker. And then you're there to help them reap those benefits. And that's where you get some payback, is from just the equity that you have in that talent. That's really exciting, Theo. You'll have to keep me informed on how that's going and let me know. Okay. I know you said in what you wrote to me, you had Artist Lab Group, Artist Lab Campus, and then Artist Lab Editions. Can you tell me what Editions is?
Editions is publishing. As I mentioned, the screenwriters that get great art and they don't get anything published. We wanted to go against that and to give them the opportunities to be published because I believe writing a screenplay is very demanding. It requires a lot of vulnerability, a lot of sacrifice, as much as a book, as much as a play, but we don't see screenplays anywhere. And if you have read screenplays in your life, it's easy to read, it's entertaining, it can be fun, but we can't find any anywhere. So our desire was to have this little publishing company to just select some classical screenplays that are in the public domain and create a classics collection, and also publish screenplays from artists that are current and that have the desire to get their work printed. So the edition is really to get screenplays on bookshelves because we believe they deserve it.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's a really great idea. So let's talk a little bit about you as a leader inside the Artist Lab. I look at all the places that you are putting your interest right now. Looks like you've got a lot of different people that must be doing work with you, for you, and you need to keep that all tied together. Yeah. How do you find creativity helps you be better at leading, better at solving problems, maybe better at organizing your time?
Yeah. I believe that creativity is a part of all of us. We all have creativity within us. There is all of us that is an artist in a way. I believe it's Julia Cameron that said that in The Artist Way. But creativity is fun. If we make it fun, it's enjoyable. It's fantastic. You don't see the time floating. You don't see the days passing. It's just you're having a great time when you have that creativity at the center of your life. Yes. And I believe it's a mindset. And it's a mindset that I have since I'm a child. And it's something that I'm trying to empower my collaborator with. The goal is just not to be bored. And we are never bored because we're having fun and we're trying, we're failing, we're trying again. And creativity, it helps you think outside of the box. There are rules, and we break all of them. Mm-hmm. And creativity is a tool that in the business world today, it's undervalued. But I believe it's so important because we are living in an era where everything is about to change. My grandmother was a teacher. She went to school for 5 years. She studied, she got the diploma, and she was a teacher for 45 years. End of the story. It was great. Today, if you do that, there is a chance that by the end of your study, your job will be obsolete already. Creativity is what we have left because there are so many tools out there that's going to be not replacing us, but helping us. And we have to fuel our creativity, because I do believe that the future is like just expressing ourselves in the best possible way.
I love so much about what you just said. I agree that creativity is in everyone, and looking at the world today, bringing in the changes in technology, changes in software, changes in just how mobile our technology is, and bringing in AI and how quickly we can communicate across the world. I am in Chicago and you are in France, and we are talking right now, just like you're sitting in my kitchen. So things like this were not available to your grandmother, to my mother. These are things that are going to continue to leap to new pinnacles that we can't even imagine right now. So you're right. You can't go to school for 5 years and then think that you're going to just have your job for the next 45 years. We have to be nimble. And in order to be nimble and solve problems outside of the proverbial box, creativity has to be first and foremost in everyone's life. And I've always talked about this on the podcast, that creativity is in the person that's working on spreadsheets just as much as the person who is putting paint to a canvas. There's no difference. Right. Yeah. And also what you said about the flow of time. If you're working in a job where you sit down in the morning and before you know it, you've missed lunch and now it's time to go home, that is a job where your creativity is just blossoming. If you're in a job where every time you look at the clock that it's only 10 minutes later or even a couple of minutes later and the day drags, you're in a job where your creativity is dying. So I loved all the things you brought to the forefront about just what you're doing for creativity. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that you touch on something very interesting. If you are at a job, like sitting at your desk and looking at the watch and like just 10 minutes passed, it's the biggest red flag you should have. Yeah. And obviously, I'm not saying that today everybody should be doing everything they want, because I'm optimistic, but maybe not idealist. But there's people who have things they need to do. There are people who have situations that are not maybe as nice and as easy as other. However, that creativity, and for someone who grew up in the project, I saw a wide range of people, wide range of colors. It can be here, even in the smallest part. And that little flame within you, I think one of the saddest things is just to let it die.
Yeah, exactly. And you're correct that there are so many people who they are just needing to meet the demands of the day while you're dealing with what's on your plate right now. Figure out where you could go next. That's what you did. You found time to go knock on doors to move yourself to someplace new. That is thinking about what can I do to bring up that creativity and just ignite that fire a little bit more so that it can burn brighter tomorrow.
I think what's also complicated is like the world right now and the way everything is set up, and especially with social media, it can be very tough, because we were talking about the fact that creativity can just take your day and you don't see the day going. But there are so many distractions out there, and everything is meant to keep your attention always on the clock. So for someone who has to feed the family, someone who has to check all the boxes, someone who has not the luck to maybe be free to do something, they also have to remove the chains from the system. And I'm not anti-system, it's not what I'm saying, but it's just that the system today, the way it's built, it's another barrier. It's even tougher, because you need to use the technology. There's no question here. Like, you have a podcast, I make film, we need to use technology to promote, to share, to engage, to get to the people we want to get to. And at the same time, we need to hate those social media. We need to hate those platforms because they consume so much of our energy. So we need to put a limit on our phone. We need to shut down the computer at night do not look at blue light or whatever. And some people get sucked up. I believe that at some point the switch was like not permanent, but very present in our life. Because if you look at the history of the world, the information was passing through one person to another, word of mouth, for like centuries. Books came along, radio, TV. And at that time, we were able to process the information. It was tough, but still it was more information. TV came along, propaganda, World War II. Okay, who is saying what? Is it true, not true? Okay, we didn't really know. But still, it was one source of information, one flow of information. Then came internet, and a lot of people were scared about it. But it was fascinating because we can do what we're doing right now. We can have everything at our fingerprints. And with the social media, a lot of people can't today handle information anymore. And it's just like something switch off. It's okay, it's too much for me. I'm shutting myself down like a computer, like the computer shut down and we can't talk anymore. And I experienced that a lot when I was in the US, because I was in the US from 2012 to 2023. So 2012 was like the second term of Barack Obama, just to talk politics a second. Yeah. And 2023 was 1 year before Trump got reelected. And in 11 years, so much happened. But outside of politics, it was just like the conversation were not the same anymore. Debates were not possible anymore. And now you have people that are sitting behind their desk, that are just sucked up by something, and they need to rewire their brain. And I do believe that like it is possible, because this kind of crisis of collective consciousness that we all went through, some of us went through it, some of us are in it, and some of us realize it. We have so much strength in our brain and in our soul that I believe we will go past that. But today, it's like creativity is what can take us there. Otherwise, it's so much that you don't want to deal with. It's like so much. Like you guys us in Europe, it's like war there and what's going on. And it's not fun. Let's be honest about it.
No, it is not fun. That is really wise words, such wise words. Social media can either be something that you use to build your creativity, or it is something that will break your creativity down. But you've got to know that it is something that you need to handle, not to be handled by it. And being able to know the difference will help so much in the confidence you have as a human person and the happiness that you're going to find, that we talk about so much on this podcast. So I know in the questionnaire that you answered for me, you had mentioned an important part of your day is just how you run your morning. And we've been talking a lot about morning rituals here on the podcast and how it actually sets up your day with the correct sort of chemicals in your brain, because when you get up and you have a morning ritual that keeps you from your telephone, from the news, from too much caffeine, it, instead of having cortisol ramp up in your brain right away when you get up, it brings in a little bit of dopamine, it keeps you calm, and it sets your day up. And when I was reading how you set your day, I thought, Theo needs to share this. Can you just tell people what you do in the morning to start your day?
Yeah. But quickly, let me tell you how and when that started. And yes. I was in New York. And in New York, I was just like walking all the time, just walk. And I had one vision, one objective, make it. But doing that, I forgot about myself. I didn't have time to work out. I didn't have time to eat properly. I didn't have any second for myself. And I just felt burnout. And one day I realized I was like 20 pounds heavier. I was like, you are in such a bad shape. But the only time I could walk for myself was in the morning, because New York City, you need to walk 14 hours to get something done over there. So I started waking up earlier. That was like terrible at first. But it was the only time that I could get myself to do something for myself. Yeah. And I just kept that with me. Today I have a baby, 15 months old, and my day is just planned. When he wakes up, breakfast, etc., we go to the nursery, then I have to do the office, meetings, blah, blah, blah. So morning, I woke up at 5, and from 5 to 7, I'm just by myself. And I do everything that I want to do, basically for myself. So I start by writing about some things that are just in my mind, some things that no stress, no pressure, no whatever. It's just like a little bit of writing. And it's always very creative because it just like, make it flow. Meditation helps me a lot. So I meditate, depends like between 15 and 20 minutes. It's a way to align myself, spirit, soul, and body. I work out. I know that otherwise I will not have time to work out during the day. So it's either you do a workout now or you don't. And I read. I think reading is something that our generation is like the next generation is losing. Probably the most important tool to get where you go. So I read for 1 hour, and so most of the time I feel bad about myself because I'm like, I wish I could read more. And when I've done that, it's basically I read, I wrote, I meditate, and I walked out. I was like, cool, 7 a.m. and let's go. It requires discipline. I mean, it's tough. It is tough because sometimes you have, if you go to bed late because you are invited to a dinner, you have like friends at home or anything, traveling, well, you feel terrible when you wake up at 5.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. It's like the last thing I want to do is wake up.
Yeah.
And then I made a commitment with myself and I try to keep that commitment. So sometimes I'm going to be like 15 minutes just because the reverse sleep is so important.
Yes.
You can't be a dictator with yourself. You have to listen to your body. There are days like, okay, I can't do it. It's not going to be 5, it's going to be 6. But at least you don't feel terrible the entire day. And discipline is very important. But I don't believe in torture.
Yes. Right.
Torture. So it's like, you need to adapt. But at first, to put it in place, you have to understand that it's going to be terrible, but it's life-changing. It's life-changing.
I love the way you've just explained that. First of all, knowing that this is important and then giving yourself the permission to have 2 hours during the day where it's all about you, what you need to do to make yourself better. We talk on the podcast so much about knowing that there's something that you need to do, but you need to give yourself permission to do that. And then you need to start doing the work to get it done. So it's permission and then do the work. Those are really key. And then to be kind to yourself, that you're right. You need your sleep. Everyone needs to sleep. And it's become more and more apparent that's not a place where you can rob time. That we used to think, oh, we'll sleep when I'm dead. But that is not the case anymore. It has become very apparent that getting sleep is just as important for your brain as doing so many other things. So there are some times where you're going to say, I didn't get everything done today because I needed to have that extra hour of sleep. And I had to be up late because of fill in the blank. It's a balance. But if you make that commitment and you do it 6 days out of 7 or 5 days out of 7, it's a win. It's a win.
I think you said it totally on point.
So let's talk a little bit about your advice to other creatives who are either where you are right now or where you were when you were wanting to break into the film industry. What's your advice to give to creatives who want to do more with what they think their passion might be?
There's a lot that can be said here.
Yes.
But I think it's like embracing your own storytelling, the stories that you are like talking about, because as we mentioned, the world is evolving right now. And to get anywhere you want to go, you have to be authentic, but you will have to put yourself out there. It will require a lot of vulnerability. You can't hide behind a brand anymore. You can't hide behind a phone. You have to put yourself out there, which taps into our deepest fears.
Yeah.
And sharing our work by putting a painting online to set it, by sending an email to a producer to get a screenplay read. We are just like putting ourselves in a very complicated position because we're not used to that. We like our certainty, but we don't like changes and we don't like to be moved around. But the only way to get it is by embracing it. because I think that no one owes us anything. No one will come to save me if I'm just like sitting in my chair and be like, oh no, I don't want to talk to Beth today. I don't want to know. Okay, cool. I'm not going to talk to you, but no one will hear what I have to say. And today our biggest mistake, I would say, the biggest mistake of our generation is to think that because we are seeing something online, that's the reality. And we are afraid to be judged because people out there are so mean.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we are thinking that it is the reality of our world. The truth is, even though they are mean with you, even though they are judging you, 5 minutes after that, they will forget about you. Those people don't really matter. You know, who matters is the people who come with genuine criticism about your work and help you move forward. And our own storytelling is what matters because we have incredible tools, but we'll have to, in a way, promote ourselves. If you want to sell a painting, you can't just sell a painting. You will have to promote the artist behind the painting. What it is your story? And what worked at some point was to copy what others were doing. And I don't think that work anymore. Like you can't just take a tomato can of Andy Warhol and be like, oh, hey, I'm doing something new, or another stencil of Banksy. I don't think that work anymore. What can work today is like what Tarantino used to say. It's like art is just copying, but making it better and making it yours. So if you're on your message, if use your story behind the product, behind whatever you're selling is really you, that will work. And you will be like entitled to make it work because you will feel whole. If you don't do that, if you just create something for an audience or because that work, I think you will feel terrible very quickly.
Yes, I think you say so many wise things. You can't hide. You've got to get your name out there. It is uncomfortable to do that. Doesn't feel great. A lot of artists love to create, but are really bad at promotion. And I also loved how you mentioned that there are very few things that can be completely innovative and brand new that no one's seen. But you're the unique individual and everyone has their own fingerprints. So the authenticity that you bring to something you find fascinating is going to be the thing that makes it different. Find what you like and then find out how your personality can make that thing in a different way. I love how you're encouraging new creatives or creatives that are looking for new opportunities. That's really good advice.
I think it's what I wanted to hear at that time. And you do the same, like what you are sharing and like the resources that you are giving people by doing that podcast and bringing people in. It's sharing, and sharing is caring.
Yeah.
And it's important for this lonely person working like on their art, on their craft, to know that they have a podcast that will come and remind them that they are not alone. And it's important to be there.
Yes.
It's like very important.
I know how hard it was as a new artist who wanted to come into graphic design and then licensing of art. It was hard to find work, especially as a freelancer, especially as a licensed artist. So now that I am working as such, I like to find those artists that are thinking, oh, how do I get there? And tell them the things I learned, the things that flattened me as an artist or slowed me down. And if I can share that and help them miss an obstacle, that is great. And so I think that's what you're going to be doing with the Artist Lab is helping people get going faster and get their creativity working quicker than if they had to do it all by themselves.
Yeah, totally. Just like being present and showing you the way.
Yes. Yeah. Is there anything right now that you're working on that we should be watching for? And how can we find you if we want to learn a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing?
Okay. So right now we are doing TV shows in France. I don't know if your listeners are like willing to watch a French program, but we are doing stuff here in France. The next one is called Scripts because the script in France is the person in charge of being sure that the screenplay will be respected during the filming. So it's a thriller about something happening to that person. It's a limited series of 8 episodes, like 8 times 52 minutes. That should be released next year in the French TV. In the meantime, we're developing a movie in the US, at least for the US market, something in English. It's a kind of a thriller, conspiracy, CIA story. It's about something that happened in 1951 in a little town in France. It's one night, kind of everybody went crazy in that town. And everybody said that it was in the bread. There was like bacteria in the bread. And later in 2009, there is one theory that says that maybe the CIA was like testing drugs in the bread. We don't have the answer for that. I'm not pretending anything. I'm not into conspiracy theory. However, it's a great premise for a movie. So we made a movie out of it. We reinvented history. So that's a movie that's 120 pages. That's something that's going to be released in the Artist Lab edition. So that will exist as a screenplay. It's called Cursed Bread. And it's also like developing right now. We're trying to attach talent. We have a co-producer in the UK and like we're moving forward in that direction. So that's what we are excited about in the TV and film realm. And to find us, we have recently launched Instagram. We were not at all on social media, but like we have an artistlab.studio or _studio, like on Instagram. And we have a newsletter that I think is for creativists important because we are trying to give insights and tools like the things we just talked about. So it's on our website, artistlab.studio/newsletter. So everyone can sign it there. Yeah.
Great. And we will have all of these links in the show notes. So it'll be easy to find Theo and find out where you can learn more about the Artist Lab. So if you're a creative who would be interested in talking to you about how you find creatives for your incubator, do they go through the website to do that?
Yeah, I don't have social media. They can find me on LinkedIn though. So if someone wants to send me a direct message, I always take the time to reply. LinkedIn, full name, you get me. And in the newsletters, we will, let our subscribers know about the application for the next round. And that will be around the end of June because we are starting the program. The next round will be end of October. So application will be end of June. We'll review everything during the summer and October that will start. So LinkedIn or newsletter, the best way. Yeah.
Great. And who's your prime audience for someone that would be a perfect candidate for you?
The perfect candidate would be any artist with a clear vision of what they want to do. So let's say you have like we were talking about painter, like a painter who just work on their craft at home with something special, like a real message that they are trying to give, but they have no idea where to start. Or a screenwriter with a vision of a project. It can be a brand, like we are helping brands, but not the brands as a company. We're not a branding company. However, we will help the mind behind the brand. Someone wants to open a podcast about like very something specific. If they have a clear vision, we will lay the path because it's about psychology, it's about influence, it's about technology, and then about networking, obviously. But it's a mix of all of that.
So it is not just I want to get into filmmaking industry. It is for any creative who has an idea that they would like to develop that would turn into a profession for them.
Yeah. Obviously, screenwriters were demanding at first because we come from the production background. I come from the production background. But today within the company, there is also people who are creative from other industry. There are people that are in Paris that are not from the film industry. One of them is from the TV industry, close, but the other one is from the publishing industry. So it's for artists in general. Obviously, me, like as an author, screenwriter, is where I came from, but we are opening doors to everybody.
Well, wonderful. That's a really good thing to clarify. I love that. Theo, you are a multifaceted, creative person. This has been such a great opportunity to talk to you today. You're just a perfect guest for the Create Today podcast because we see that you're a creative person who is doing a creative business, who's added creativity into your life, and who is helping other creatives start their creative passion. This has been fabulous.
Thank you for what you're doing. Your show is great. So I hope you continue the way you do it because it's mandatory for creative to have that platform they can listen to. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your kind words. My creative friends, please take a look at what Theo's doing creatively in his passion, in his rituals, in the way he has put himself out there and been uncomfortable with what he's exploring. How can you take a little bit of this passion and apply it to your life today? And no matter what you decide to do and how you decide to do it and where you decide to go, remember, my friend, stay creative. Thanks for joining us today, Theo. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye. And now let's take a second to hear a word from our sponsor. And that would be me. When the world feels like a lot, like it does right now, community is a place you need to find. Let me tell you how BDI Create Today is here to provide that extra help and encourage you with your creativity through community. Sometimes creating feels a bit lonely when you are doing it all by yourself. But my friend, one of the best ways to stay inspired and to keep your creativity thriving is to be part of a creative community. It helps you stay accountable to get more done. And it's also going to bring new ideas to the table about creative inspiration and techniques and tips that you never thought to try. And this is why I created the Create Today membership. BDI Create Today, it is a safe place where creatives can come to meet and mingle with like-minded creatives, to find cheerleaders who are going to support and respect you and your creativity. Inside the Create Today membership, you get inspiration and tips and unique creative ideas to keep your creativity challenged, ignited, and alive, and still happening on a daily basis. So if you're looking for a way to stay creatively energized and break free from the stress spiral of today's world, Create Today is a safe space to land and to grow your creativity. To learn more about the treasures that BDI Create Today has ready to share with you right now, visit www.bdi-create.today, and you can become part of this wonderful community that supports the many benefits that creativity provides us today and every day. Because, my friend, it is when we gather together in community that we find ways to cope, we find answers to problems, and we find safety in our numbers. And we discover that we are in this together. But most importantly, you're going to realize the power creativity has to bring goodness in your life, in heart, mind, body, and soul. I am so grateful that you are here. And if you know someone who could benefit from today's message, please share this podcast and take a peek at past episodes to find other treasures about you and your creativity that can add more strength and power to your well-being. Remember, it is important for your overall well-being for you to stay creative, my friend.